I dropped snow at my babysitter's house, whose husband was a police officer. When I say I went hard in the paint, I jumped all the way in that bucket. Me doing that probably saved my life. And I'm thankful that my babysitter called the cops and turned me in, because I had somebody to answer to eventually. So obviously now I have that on my name, and the law enforcement's aware of it. To be clear, it was not the snow that bartenders shovel, it's the snow that they have at trailer parks. Make sense? Yeah, I also didn't mess with anything else. It was just that. I barely even ate lettuce when I was doing that. It was only if I didn't have snow. So somebody turned me in, and I'm pretty sure it was my ex. I don't know. I really don't know, but it doesn't matter. It was true. And they were like, hey, we'll come pick you up. I want to come in here for a meeting. I'm like, I got a vehicle. They're like, no, we'll come pick you up. And I'm like, okay, cool, fine, whatever. They come pick me up. They go over there like, hey, somebody told me that you were IV using. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And they were like, yeah, you are. And I was like, prove it, Becky. And they're like, show me your arms. So I was like, oh, shit, okay. So I lifted up and I showed my arms. And of course, I'm brand new at it, so I was marked up. And they're like, what is this? And I'm an addict, so I think that my lies are great. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't using, it's just water. And yeah. And they were like, Anita. And I'm like, well, I told you guys I needed help. You guys didn't want to help me. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to see what we can get through with counseling, just la, 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 whatever lies they told me. They let me go home, and then a couple hours later, they showed up at my house with police officers. And I was like, what's up? And they're like, can we come in and talk? And I'm like, are you coming here to take my kids? And they were like, can we come in and talk? And I'm like, no, yes or no? Are you coming to take my kids? And they were like, yes. And I was like, cool. I said a whole bunch of horrible, mean things to them. They took my kids, and I think about 3 days later, I packed up all my stuff and I left. I met some guy that was using, when you first get into all this stuff, it's gonna get handed to you. You're gonna get it everywhere, it's gonna be free, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be cheap. It's not until you really become hooked to it that people don't wanna mess with you no more. At some point, he seemed like he had all of the greatest things, and I was like, hey, let's get it. And so we got it. I think I had about 4 months of freedom before I skipped my first court date pertaining to that charge. And I went on the run for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, pretty much the whole winter. I turned myself in after Christmas, I know that. And when I turned myself in, the person that I was with, he had another girl at the place. Every time I would call, she would answer, and then she would hang up. And so I knew, and it was only like 2 weeks that I was locked up the first time. My dad and my stepmom did come. I was supposed to get a drug patch, they paid for it, and my dad begged me to come home, and I'm like, no, 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 no. And I wanted to go back there, and then really the only reason why I wanted to go back was because I knew somebody was there. I went there, and all of my old used, she was using them. And I also used to have a necklace that I would put my mom's ashes in so that I could carry her with me every time I went. They broke it open, and they were trying to use it because they thought it was snow. Gross. I hope my mom haunts them for the rest of their life. Something about that situation made something switch inside my head. And from that moment forward, I just felt like everybody was doing some extra sneaky shit. And plus, when you're in addiction, you will quickly start to realize that badges, certificates, degrees, none of that matters. These are all people. And a lot of people in higher standings use. It kind of blew my mind, but it also changed my perspective on how I look at people of power, because they really are just regular people. From that point forward is really when I remember psychosis kicking in. So, nothing to mess with. Like, you think it's real, and you can't tell yourself any different. What really screwed me up was seeing my mom. I would see my mom, and I would hear my mom like I see and hear everybody else. And then I would also hear my dad. But my mom's not here. My dad's here. So it's just like, well, what the heck's going on? And then somebody was like, oh, it's demons, they're preying on you because you're weak in your mind right now, and they know that. And it just makes the paranoia worse. I couldn't tell a lie. I couldn't steal. I mean, like, I could tell a lie and I could steal, but I'd have to own up to it. Every time I would tell a lie, my dad would be like, I don't think so, kid. And every time I would take something, my mom would be like, oh, Annie B, please put that back, And that's what I would hear. And my mom would be like, oh, they know what you did. Yep, you better watch yourself. And then I would always hear my dad like, hey, we'll be going out in that country with all those white people. Unless you don't want to be found again. And I ran for a couple of months, and then eventually, like, when you get so far gone, people get sick and tired of you. So, I didn't have my own place, I didn't have my own thing, and I could tell that everybody around me was just frustrated with me, and it's cool, because I was frustrated with me too, so I get it. And my one friend that I had that lived in another town, she's like, oh, come here, I'll help you go get the treatment. I'm like, okay, cool. I set up a ride, and I'm going on my way there, and as I'm almost there, she's like, oh, I gotta go into work. Like, all right, cool, fine, whatever. So I call my dad, and I'm like, Dad, can I stay with you guys here? I'm trying to get the treatment, and blah, blah, blah. My dad's like, cool, yeah. So my dad and my stepmom then looked up my name and found out that I had a warrant, and my dad's like, where you at? I'm gonna come get you. And I'm like, oh, I'm at Castleton gas station. So I'm sitting here waiting for my dad, and I look out, and I see my dad's truck coming, and then there's sheriffs behind him, and I'm like, son of a... My dad snitched me out. And I was mad as can be. And I was just like, if I ever have to come back to this place again, I'm deleting myself. I still remember the look on my dad's face, and I wish I never would have said the things that I said to him, because, man, he's been through enough. And I went to jail. I sat in jail for a little bit, then they sent me back to Valley City. I sat in jail for a little bit there, and I went back to my using grounds. And I will tell you that in my next video.